Ichika was the only male student in the new academic year at Infinite Stratos Academy, and for him, the first day of school felt overwhelming and nerve-wracking. Before long, his homeroom assistant teacher, Maya, stepped up to the front of the class and greeted the students. None of them responded, which made Maya visibly anxious. She explained that everyone there was a new student at Infinite Stratos Academy. Nervously, she mentioned that it was a boarding school, meaning they would be together both during and after school hours. Maya encouraged everyone to get to know each other better so that the next 3 years could be enjoyable for all of them. She then began taking attendance one by one. Ichika looked extremely tense and tried to call out to Haoki, but she turned her head away. Ichika was confused by her reaction. After all, they were childhood friends who had just reunited after 6 years. He started to wonder if maybe Haoki held some resentment toward him. Maya suddenly called Ichika's name loudly, startling him and making the class burst into laughter. She asked him to introduce himself. Ichika stood up, said his name, and greeted everyone, but most of the students stared at him coldly. He figured that if he kept quiet, they might assume he was gloomy or antisocial. He let out a sigh, and everyone thought he was about to say something more, but he ended it there. Suddenly, a teacher entered the classroom and smacked Ichika on the head. He was completely caught off guard when he realized that it was Chifuyu, his older sister. Ichika reflexively called her older sister, but she immediately hit him again and told him to address her as Ms. Instructor while at school. It turned out Chifuyu had been in a staff meeting, so she had asked Maya to handle the welcome for the new students. Ichika was surprised to see his sister at Infinite Stratos Academy. Her job had always been a mystery, and she would only come home once or twice a year. Chifuyu introduced herself as their homeroom teacher and firmly stated that her goal was to make sure every one of them became competent within the year. Her commanding tone and charismatic presence made the students cheer with excitement. Many of them admired her deeply, and some had even enrolled in the academy just to meet her, including one student who came all the way from northern Kyushu. Chifuyu found it ridiculous that so many airheaded students had ended up in her class. Ichika was shocked to learn that Chifuyu would be his homeroom teacher. She questioned why he had failed to properly introduce himself earlier. When he called her older sister again, she pressed his head down once more. The students started to wonder if Ichika's ability to use the Infinite Stratos was because he was Chifuyu's younger brother. Chifuyu told them to settle down. She announced that she would have them master the basics of Infinite Stratos within 6 months. Only after that would they begin practical training. She gave them just half a month to learn the basic movements. The entire class responded in unison, agreeing to the challenge. It turned out that Chifuyu had once been one of Japan's first-generation Infinite Stratos pilots, but one day she suddenly resigned and disappeared from the public eye. Even Ichika never knew that she had become a teacher, and he regretted worrying about her for so long. Maya then explained that Infinite Stratos was a type of multiform suit developed in Japan. It was originally created 10 years ago with the purpose of space exploration, but development was halted under the Alaska Treaty. The treaty prohibited Infinite Stratos from being used as a military weapon, so it was rebranded as a form of competitive sport. Infinite Stratos Academy was the only training school in the world dedicated to its pilots. Students from all over the globe gathered there to learn how to pilot the suits. Technically, only females could operate the Infinite Stratos, and Ichika was the sole exception, the only male in the world capable of using it. During the break, the students kept watching Ichika, curious about the only boy in the world who could operate an Infinite Stratos. Ichika felt uncomfortable and wished someone would come save him. Suddenly, Haoki approached and asked him to step outside the classroom. Ichika asked if there was something she wanted to tell him, especially since they had not seen each other in 6 years. Haoki looked really nervous. Ichika then congratulated her for winning the national kendo tournament. Haoki was surprised and asked how he knew about that. Ichika said he had read it in the newspaper. He smiled and said even though it had been 6 years since they last saw each other, he could still recognize her instantly, especially since her hairstyle had not changed at all. Haoki looked embarrassed but thanked him for still remembering her. Ichika said there was no way he could ever forget her. Just then, the bell rang. A few students had been watching them from a distance, wondering if Haoki might be a friend of Ichika's. Ichika invited Haoki to head back to class. Later that day, Maya had just finished explaining the lesson and asked the students if anyone had questions about the material. Ichika was completely confused and wondered if he really had to memorize everything in the book. Maya walked up to him and asked if there was anything he wanted to ask. Ichika admitted that he did not understand anything at all. Maya was shocked and asked the rest of the class if anyone else was having trouble with the lesson, but no one did. Only Ichika was struggling. Then Chifuyu came over and asked Ichika if he had not read the textbook before school started. Ichika said he had accidentally thrown it away. Chifuyu slapped him and told him she would give him another copy, but he had to memorize the entire book within a week. Ichika obviously protested, but Chifuyu firmly insisted. During the next break, a girl named Cecilia approached Ichika. Charlotte was surprised by how Ichika responded. It came off as a bit rude. Ichika admitted that he did not recognize Cecilia. She was confused as to how he did not know who she was, considering she was the representative of the United Kingdom and had scored the highest on the entrance exam. Ichika then asked what country representative even meant. Cecilia was stunned and wondered if Japanese boys simply lacked basic general knowledge. Ichika asked again what a country representative was, and Cecilia explained that it referred to elite candidates chosen to represent their nation as Infinite Stratos pilots. Cecilia proudly described herself as an elite noble and said people should feel honored to be in the same class as her. Ichika replied that this meant he was lucky, which made Cecilia feel like he was mocking her. She could not understand how someone like Ichika had managed to enroll in the Infinite Stratos Academy while knowing so little. As far as she knew, he was supposed to be the only boy able to operate in Infinite Stratos, but now she was disappointed. Cecilia claimed she was generous, so if there was anything Ichika did not understand, she would teach him, as long as he was willing to ask her nicely. She also boasted that she was the only candidate who had defeated her examiner during the entrance exam. Ichika said that he too had defeated his examiner. Cecilia was stunned, unable to believe it. Ichika explained that the examiner charged straight at him, so he dodged, and the examiner ended up crashing into a wall and stopped moving. Cecilia was not having it. She could not accept that Ichika had defeated the examiner after all. She believed she was the only one who had ever done that. Just then, the school bell rang. Cecilia left but said she would continue their conversation another time. Classes ended for the day, and Ichika headed to his dorm room. When he opened the door, he suddenly heard a girl's voice from the bathroom. It turned out to be his roommate, who said she hoped they would get along. The girl had just finished showering and was wearing only a towel. Ichika was shocked to see Haoki in the room. She was extremely embarrassed and quickly tried to cover herself. She asked why Ichika was in her room, and he said he had been assigned to that room too. He had no idea Haoki would be his roommate. Haoki immediately grabbed her kendo stick and attacked him. She even stabbed it through the door as Ichika tried to close it. Ichika wondered if she was trying to kill him. He would have been seriously hurt if he had not dodged. The commotion drew the attention of other students, and soon a crowd had gathered outside the room. They didn't expect that Ichika's room would be located there. Ichika himself was shocked to see the girls dressed so revealingly. He pleaded with Haoki to open the door and let him in. Haoki stepped out of the room and told Ichika to hurry and get inside. Once inside, she asked Ichika to explain why they were assigned to the same room, even though boys and girls had been separated by beds since the age of 7. Ichika said that kind of rule was outdated, but he admitted that sharing a room after the age of 15 could definitely be an issue. Haoki then asked what exactly Ichika was hoping to gain from sharing a room with her. Ichika responded that he wasn't that foolish. Hearing that, Haoki pointed her kendo sword at him and called him an idiot. Ichika tried to block the kendo stick, clearly scared by Haoki's intense expression. Their friends watching from the doorway felt a little sorry for Haoki. Eventually, she ended her attack and quickly closed the door. She told Ichika that they probably needed to set some boundaries since they would be sharing a room. Haoki set up a bath schedule. She would bathe from 7 to 8, and Ichika could use the bathroom from 8 to 9. Ichika said he preferred to shower earlier. Haoki asked if Ichika expected her to stay sweaty after kendo practice. He pointed out that the kendo club had showers too, but Haoki insisted that she couldn't relax unless she used her own bathroom. Ichika mentioned that home bathrooms were definitely more comfortable than school ones, then realized their room didn't even have a toilet. Haoki explained that the toilets were at the end of the hallway. When Ichika commented that the school was full of female students, Haoki immediately brandished her kendo stick again. She knew exactly what kind of thought Ichika was having. Not wanting to back down, Ichika picked up a kendo stick to defend himself. But to his surprise, Haoki's bra had gotten caught on the tip of his kendo. Embarrassed, Haoki quickly grabbed it back. Ichika, completely innocent, commented that he hadn't realized she wore a bra. Flustered and humiliated, Haoki hit him out of frustration. The next morning at the cafeteria, Ichika and Haoki were having breakfast together. Ichika asked how long Haoki was planning to stay mad at him. She denied being upset, but Ichika pointed out that she looked clearly annoyed. While they were eating, some girls at another table were whispering about how Ichika was the younger brother of Chifuyu. Haoki grew irritated when Ichika casually mentioned her childhood nickname. Soon after, 3 girls approached and asked if they could sit beside Ichika. He welcomed them. Their names were Nagi, Yuko, and Hane. They looked excited to sit next to him. Haoki commented on how much food Ichika was eating. In contrast, Ichika noticed how small the girls' portions were and asked if it was okay for girls to eat so little for breakfast. The 3 of them smiled and admitted they preferred to save room for snacks. After finishing her breakfast, Haoki quickly left. Yuko asked if Ichika was close with Haoki. Nanji even knew that they shared a room. Ichika confirmed it and added that he and Haoki had been childhood friends. The 3 girls were surprised. Ichika explained they had been classmates from 1st to 4th grade, though he didn't remember too much about it. Suddenly, Chifuyu arrived and told everyone to finish their meals quickly. Apparently, besides being their homeroom teacher, Chifuryu was also the dorm supervisor for the first years. She warned that anyone who was late would have to run 10 laps around the field. Ichika finally realized why his sister rarely came home. Her responsibilities were overwhelming. During class, Chifuryu informed everyone that there would be an inter-class tournament happening in 2 weeks. Because of that, each class needed to choose a representative. The class representative wouldn't just compete in the tournament, but also attend student council and event planning meetings. Basically, the role would be similar to that of a class president. Chifuryu asked the students to either nominate themselves or someone else. Out of nowhere, one student nominated Ichika, and soon after, a few others followed. Chifuryu asked if there were any other candidates. If not, Ichika would be appointed automatically. But Ichika declined the nomination. Not long after, Cecilia spoke up, saying she wasn't okay with how the selection was being handled. In her opinion, having a male class representative was embarrassing. She admitted she would feel ashamed if Ichika represented the school for the whole year. On top of that, she was already feeling burdened having to live in what she called an underdeveloped country. Ichika didn't take that well and fired back, saying that England wasn't exactly something to be proud of either. According to him, the only thing England would win was a global competition for disgusting food. Cecilia disagreed and said England had plenty of delicious dishes. She got irritated that Ichika was insulting her country. Eventually, Cecilia challenged Ichika to a match and Ichika accepted. Cecilia warned him that if he threw the match on purpose, she'd make him her servant. Ichika then asked how much of a handicap he should give her. That made everyone laugh. They were surprised by how serious Ichika seemed, especially since many believed that men only had the upper hand until Infinite Stratos units were invented. Cecilia mocked Ichika, calling him a funny Japanese guy. One of the students suggested that he ask for a handicap, but Ichika said a man never takes back his word. Chifuryu then stepped in and scheduled the match between Ichika and Cecilia for Monday in Arena 3. She told both of them to get ready. That day, Chifuryu informed Ichika that his Infinite Stratos unit needed more time before it could be used, and since there were no spare units available, the school had decided to build one specifically for him. Upon hearing this, the other students felt quite envious. They wished they could have their own personalized Infinite Stratos as well. Ichika wondered if having a personal unit was really that impressive. Cecilia expressed her delight at the news, saying it pretty much guaranteed the winner of the upcoming representative tournament. From her point of view, it wouldn't be fair if she used a personal Infinite Stratos while Ichika had to rely on a training unit. This surprised Ichika, who had just learned that Cecilia also had her own personal unit. Cecilia explained that as a representative of the United Kingdom, she'd been granted one. She also mentioned that only 467 Infinite Stratos units existed in the world, and only the elite among the elite were given personal ones. Ichika was shocked to hear that there were only 467 units. Shizune stepped in to explain that the core technology inside each Infinite Stratos had never been made public. That was why only 467 existed. All the cores had been created by Professor Thabane, Haoki's older sister. The core technology remained a complete mystery, and no one other than Professor Thabane had been able to replicate it. Unfortunately, Thabane had refused to produce more than the original set. Because of this, countries, companies, and organizations had to make do with the limited number of cores available to them for research and development. Chifuryu then explained that personal Infinite Stratos units were normally only given to those working for governments or owned by major corporations. However, due to Ichika's unique status, he would be receiving a personal unit for data collection purposes. Shizune asked Chifuryu if Haoki was really related to Thabane, and Chifuryu confirmed that Haoki was her younger sister. The students were shocked. They had a hard time believing it, especially since Professor Thabane had gone missing and was being sought after by several countries and organizations. Naturally, they asked Haoki if she knew where Thabane was. With a sharp tone, Haoki responded that she had no idea where Thabane had gone. And honestly, she didn't care. Haoki made it clear that she was not her sister, and there was nothing she could tell them. At that point, Chifuryu instructed Maya to begin the lesson. Ichika couldn't help but wonder if something was off in Haoki's relationship with her older sister. During the lesson, Maya explained that Infinite Stratos units protect their pilots using a special energy shield. Each unit possesses something similar to a consciousness, allowing them to communicate with their pilot. Over time, the unit would gradually become more familiar with the pilot's thought patterns. While Maya was giving this explanation, Ichika couldn't understand a word and kept glancing at Haoki from time to time. Maya told the class to think of their Infinite Stratos unit as a partner. Yuko then asked if by partner, she meant something like a romantic relationship. Maya wasn't sure. She admitted she didn't have the experience to answer and that she was curious about it herself. At that moment, Ichika finally realized what it was like to attend an all-girls school. During lunch break, Ichika invited Haoki to eat together, but she ignored him. So he invited a few other classmates instead. Yuko, Hane, and Nagi happily accepted. Ichika said it would be more fun to get along with classmates, but Haoki still refused to join. Ichika tried to tug her along, but she resisted. Jokingly, Ichika teased that if she wouldn't walk, he might have to carry her. Haoki looked visibly upset and suddenly threw Ichika to the ground, which surprised the surrounding students. Ichika commented that Haoki had gotten even stronger, but Haoki shot back saying that Ichika was just getting weaker. According to her, what she had just done was simply a new trick she had picked up from her kendo training. Naji, Hane, and Yuko quickly left the area, clearly intimidated by what they had just seen. Ichika then grabbed Haoki's arm and insisted they eat lunch together, and after some hesitation, Haoki agreed. When they got to the cafeteria, Ichika gently told her not to be so self-centered all the time, which confused Haoki. He explained that what was actually on his mind was her. Ichika reminded her that he had been taken care of by Haoki's family, and since they were childhood friends who trained in the same martial art, it was only natural that he cared about her. After that, they started looking for an empty table to sit and eat together. While they were eating, Ichika asked Haoki to teach him more about Infinite Stratos. He admitted that if things kept going the way they were, he would probably lose to Cecilia without even putting up a fight. Haoki, however, blamed Ichika for getting himself into that kind of trouble. Ichika even went as far as pleading with her to help. Just then, a senior student from Class 3 approached and offered to teach Ichika about Infinite Stratos. She mentioned she knew he was still a beginner, and that he was scheduled to fight Cecilia soon. Haoki quickly stepped in and declared that she would be the one to train Ichika. The senior scoffed, saying that Haoki was just her first year, while she was already in her third year. But Haoki calmly replied that she was Thabana's younger sister, so that it shouldn't be a problem. Hearing that, the senior backed off and left. Ichika felt relieved and thankful that Haoki agreed to help him. Later that day, Ichika and Haoki were practicing kendo together, but Ichika was struggling to keep up. Haoki was confused about why Ichika was performing so poorly and asked what club he had joined during middle school. Ichika confessed that he went straight home every day and had missed a single day of school for 3 years. Haoki decided she would retrain him from the beginning, saying that this issue was more urgent than Infinite Stratos itself. She told Ichika she would train him for 3 hours after school every day. Although Ichika said he still needed to learn about Infinite Stratos, Haoki insisted that his current condition was way more serious. A few nearby students even began to doubt whether someone as unskilled as Ichika could actually control an Infinite Stratos unit. After training, Haoki started questioning whether she had been too harsh on Ichika. Still, she convinced herself that she had done the right thing, especially since he hadn't picked up a kendo sword in over a year. In her eyes, Ichika had changed a lot during the 6 years they had been apart. Determined to help him, Haoki made up her mind to continue training Ichika every day after school. That way, she could also spend more time with him. But then she grew embarrassed by her own thoughts and brushed them aside, trying to convince herself that she was doing all of this simply out of frustration with someone who wasn't taking martial arts seriously.